Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the Extra Time Show. We're looking back on the game against Manchester City. Of course, Everton lost 2-1 at the Etihad yesterday. We've got Terry McAllister back on the show again. And, of course, I'm standing in for Jerry tonight, who has pulled out last minute, and I've decided I'm going to take on the mantle of trying to make sense of what went on at the Etihad when we, let's be honest, didn't play quite so well. So, Terry, what did you make of the game?
It was a frustrating game, really, wasn't it? Like, to watch, because we know we can play better than that, but it also feels a little bit harsh to be too angry because, let's be honest, you know, it's easy to forget that Man City are the best possession side in world football and in the top, you know, 2 or 3 teams overall in the whole world, but possibly the best, certainly in the top 2. And we just struggled. I think the accumulation of games caught up with a lot of players. I think the press from City was something that the team were trying to deal with and just couldn't. And it was just frustrating because we know we can. We've seen the team play better, give a better account of themselves than they gave against Man City. But at the same time, it's away at Man City. It's like you can't judge it the same way as you judge it away at Newcastle or home to Burnley. It's not the same. Although they're resting players, the quality of player they've still got is still probably vastly better than ours. So
it's vastly better than Newcastle's as well.
Yeah, it was a mixed bag, really. There's stuff to be, you know, not happy with, you know, from individual performances and what have you. But I can't be too upset considering, you know, the context of the results, because let's be honest, we've seen them get into their groove and put, like, you know, verging on double figures past teams, and, you know, we were still in it right at the end of the game. So, you know, frustrating, probably the main thing.
I think that's the real positive to take from it, was that, like, we played poorly against a good side and we still didn't get whacked.
Well, I thought we were on for an Iden at one point, you know, when the second goal went in, and I think under Silva we would have, you know, capitulated, but, you know, that was more frustration as well, that once we got that goal, because it came from a City mistake, we started playing much better than we had been all game. It's like, oh, now that we've got this goal, we've started to play, and City are rocking a little bit. Not rocking as in, like, you know, we started, you know, battering them, but, you know, there was more of a game on it. It wasn't just their attack versus our defence like it had been for most of the game.
I think
we started a back and forth.
I think that's the case with you've seen a lot of sides who have troubled City this year. They've given City something to think about. And I don't think we did that until we went 2 down.
Yeah.
And that's what put us in trouble. I knew we'd be in trouble when I saw the way we were setting up, or maybe not the way Carlo had us set up, but the way the players were executing that in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you see City struggle, the big thing they can't, even with a full team, the thing they struggle with is balls over the top of their high line with aggressive strikers pressing their defenders, because that's where, you know, the defence is their weakest part of the team. And I thought when I saw the lineup that, okay, we're a bit light in midfield there, but this 4-4-2 has been working, and, you know, Calvert-Lewin and
Richarlison
are going to give these a bit of trouble, you know, across their back four, and we just didn't seem to play to that strength. We never pinged it in behind at all in the first half, and when we finally did in the second, we started to get a bit more joy, which makes you think, why weren't we just doing it in the first place? Yeah, I mean, they seemed to want. They were trying to beat City's press with possession, and we were passing it round the back, and I think we just lacked a bit of confidence, and they didn't really know what else to do. Like, you could see, you know, Ancelotti on the touchline saying, "Get up the pitch and move the ball forward quicker," but the players just couldn't seem to find their way out every time. You know, you give it to Delphi, who would collect the ball off the back four. He'd end up having nowhere to go, and he'd have to give it to one of the fullbacks, who'd end up with it back to the keeper. And I think Pickford had more touches of the ball than any other player in the first half, just because
definitely
couldn't find a way out.
The question is, why couldn't we find a way out? What do you think was the reason we couldn't find a way out? I know City set up well, but what have other teams managed to do to get out that maybe we didn't? Was it those runs in behind?
It's a bit of that, but I think a big part of it is the personnel we had in midfield. I don't think they were suited to that type of game. I mean, Sigurdsson, was he playing? His name was on the team sheet, but I don't think I saw him. Tom Davies didn't have his best game, but, he's playing out of position on the left, and it was meant to be Bernard's, but he goes off injured in the warm-up. And Delph actually, I think...
He was all right, I thought. He was the best out of the three anyway.
Yeah, he didn't have a good game, but you could tell he was trying, you know what I mean? Like, and he is what he is. We've brought him in. He's not De Bruyne, you know what I mean? He's not going to play those defense splitting passes, and he's not going to take on the City midfield by himself, but he was doing a lot more than Sigurdsson, his partner, for example. And he knew the strength of the City team, and he knew, he didn't lose possession too often. He didn't, I think he didn't take too many risks either, though, because he knew how
what they're capable of.
Yeah, he knew what was going to happen if he lost the ball, so he played it safe all the time. And I think that spread to the rest of the team. It wasn't so much Delph's fault, but everyone suffered from that same thing, and him probably the most. So, but yeah, I just think the midfield was too slow. He didn't get the ball quick enough, and it get the ball forward quick enough. And it left the strikers isolated. And Calvert-Lewin, as we've seen previously, needs players around him to win those flick-on headers and to make something of any possession he gets. But he was just on his own so much and chasing lost causes and trying to harry their fullbacks into moving the ball on.
Richarlison, of course, scored our late goal that sort of got us back into the game. But for me, that was arguably one of the worst performances I've seen from him. How much of that is down to the fact that he's not had a rest at all this season?
A bit of that. Richarlison is one of those players, isn't it? Like, even when he's not having a good game, he's always putting a shift in. He's always working. He's always trying to make things happen. But some games he can, he gets the joy, he gets the space, and he causes havoc. And then some games he tries to force it, like he tries to take on, opposition defenders when it's not on. And and he was having one of those games. But as you say, he's played a lot of football, and he's not had the much of even when Moise Keane has come into the team, Richarlison hasn't dropped out. He's just gone onto one of the onto the left or the right, and it was one of his best games. But he still, that's what I mean. He's had a pretty poor game and still managed to score. He still finished the chance that came his way.
On the note of the midfielders, what did you think of Tom Davies? I thought I didn't think, like you say, I don't think he played well necessarily, but I've seen him get a bit of a bashing on social media. Do you think that's justified?
It is and it isn't. I can't sit here and say he played well because he had quite a poor game, and I don't want to fall into that trap of telling other people what you saw with your own eyes is wrong and here's why. He didn't have a good game, but there are things that go along with that as well. He's out of position. He's playing one of the best midfields in the country. He's away from home. He's not really getting the support of the senior players like Sigurdsson next to him. It's just one of them. He had a poor game, but I don't want to, suggest anything anymore.
No, I personally, I thought he had a very poor game, but what I do disagree with is that people are using one poor performance to decide that he's definitely not good enough to ever play for Everton again, which is one of the kind of thing that I have been seeing on Twitter in the aftermath of that game.
That's just football fans for you, isn't it? Some people will genuinely believe that. Some people are just angry over the result. Calvert-Lewin is a good example of, if you stick with a player and he gets a run of games in the right system in the right position, that you can come good. And that's not to say Dom's suddenly cracked it now and he'll never have a bad game again, but it's a double-edged sword for me. I don't think the criticism is particularly warranted, but I obviously also can't argue with a lot of people because I can't point to anything he did in the game that redeems him, because he did have a poor game. But he so did a lot of other players. There's more players who had worse games.
Speaking of which, one of those I think was Gylfi Sigurdsson.
He's been poor all season, hasn't he? He's been absolutely
horrific.
I don't know.
But Matey scored that worldie against West Ham. So he must be good.
He's just anonymous, isn't he? In so many games, he's playing now in the 4-4-2, and he's playing what I think is actually more effective than when he was playing in the 4-2-3-1, when he was literally sitting in that number 10 role, not moving, too close to the striker and hampering, Calvert-Lewin's game. But he's still not, he's still not good enough, is he? I'm not expecting him to suddenly boss Man City's midfield, but he's your top midfielder on paper. He's scores the most goals of any midfielder. He's the most expensive of any midfielder, and he's having the least impact. Like Tom Davies, even though he has a bad game, is having more of an effect on the match than Sigurdsson. And that's my biggest criticism of Sigurdsson, is that he doesn't affect the game. He does basics very nice. He'll get the ball, he'll pass it,
he's slick like that, but is that enough? No. Definitely not enough for 45 million, in my opinion.
I know, he just doesn't impact the game. He doesn't affect the match at all. He's just a passenger, and you can't have a passenger in such an important role in the squad. Like he's just
in a game against Man City the way they are. You need to be on your A game when you play them.
He's not often overtly bad where he's terrible and he's not, he can't put a pass right, but he just doesn't do anything. And I was glad to see Carlo take him off. It was like, right, you're not doing it, so you're off. When
it's right, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how senior you are, what other options we've got. I'm taking you off and I'm leaving Tom Davies in midfield. It would have been a lot easier, I'm sure, for any manager
to take the young lad off.
Yeah, take Davies off, who's a young kid who's playing on the wing, who's a last-minute inclusion, and leave Sigurdsson on. But no, he just went, no, I'm going to move Davies inside, who's also not having a good game, and you're coming off because you're just doing...
I thought Davies looked better when he went inside, and obviously playing in his actual position, plus Moise Keane come on, and I thought he was all right as well. So I think that instantly made us better. The second Sigurdsson went off, I thought that was the point where we started to actually look like giving them something to think about, and ultimately we did in the end. It was still weren't really good enough, I don't think, but at least we offered something.
Yeah, the performance turned on substitutions, didn't it? It just seemed to... There was less square pegs and round holes when you've got Richarlison out wide and Walcott on the other side. The team seemed more balanced rather than having Davies out left. So just something as simple as that, affected the way the team played. Everyone knew where, was comfortable where they were meant to be. And, Moise Keane, you mentioned then, he comes on and, his composure on the ball when he was a big part of how we got the goal, because he could have been tackled a couple of times before he releases it to Walcott to have his shot, and he doesn't look fit enough, Moise Keane, but he looks like he's going to get there. It's probably going to be something that if the season had gone smoother, no one would be as anxious about Keane. It'd just be one of those things like, oh, he's going to take a bit of time, I'm going to introduce him slowly, but obviously everyone's anxious for him to get going because we've been poor up until Christmas, just before Christmas. So everyone's desperate for him to, start playing and turn everything around himself. And it's probably not going to happen like that. But he's getting better.
It probably doesn't help him either, by the way. But I think we've got to remember, like you say, this team is exhausted. It's also a depleted side with a few injuries, particularly in the middle of the park. But even then, I was saying to a few people today in work, and I was saying, I don't think Silva had this team anywhere near fit enough. I don't know what he was doing in pre-season. I think one of the most unfit teams physically in the league. And that's one of the main reasons, apart from maybe Andre Gomez, who was desperately unlucky. I think that's to blame for a lot of the other injuries we've been having, maybe the likes of Iwobi, the likes of Bannon, maybe. And
yeah, if you look at the... Can't really blame Gbamin on Silva because he came in. Well, actually, I suppose you can, because he played him straight away, didn't he? Put him off the bench against Palace, Gbamin, and then put him straight in against Wolves. And he hadn't had any pre-season time, and then he gets injured in training, striking a ball. So not entirely blameless, but you can tell how unfit the team was when after they played Chelsea. 3 of them got injured, like just because they'd all
put a proper shift in.
Yeah, Ferguson had basically,
made them graft and they couldn't hack it.
To run through, to put the hard yards in, and three of them got muscle injuries.
Sigurdsson, Schneiderlin,
and Walcott all got injured.
Yeah, and Lucas Dean got injured in the game as well. He had to hobble off.
Yeah, it goes to show that the team weren't fit enough, because when they had to graft, they started getting, zero impact injuries. They started getting muscle injuries from strains and stuff like that, and
that just comes from not being in the right condition.
Yeah, I mean, starting to come back now. We've got Schneiderlin back now, and I mean, whoop-de-doo, but we're starting to get some of the short-term injuries back, and it's just the long-term injuries that we have Gabam and Gomez out now. So, and obviously the window's open, so hopefully we start to see some improvement going forward. We've come out of that December with an unbelievable points haul.
Considering the circumstances.
Yeah, I just think City was a game too far. It was away at one of the best teams in the country, and obviously they're not having the season that they would have expected this season, but they're still an unbelievable team. Honestly, it's just away at City is probably the second hardest, a fixture you can have in the whole of possibly Europe, mate, especially definitely England. And the next game we probably got the hardest one, which brings us on to that.
Which, we'll be shortly doing a preview for that as well. So we'll wrap up this one. Manchester City 2, Everton 1. Not the best performance, but we still managed to hang in there, which is maybe the positive to take away from that, do you think?
Yeah, it spoke to an improved attitude and character of the players, because under the previous manager a few weeks ago, that would have been a bloodbath.
It was about 6-7. You never know.
There was still, it wasn't a disaster. There was still pluses to take from the game, and hopefully we can bounce back in the next match.
And a learning curve as well. Maybe Carlo can learn what the team's capable of, who he maybe doesn't fancy, and maybe we can move forward.
Definitely, because you won't learn nothing if you just win every game. But he's seen now some of the weaknesses of the team. He's seen some of the bad habits they've got when they're under pressure, and hopefully he can make some decisions based on that.
Yep. So there you have it, a learning curve. But we move on, and we've got Liverpool next. We're going to be doing maybe a bit of a melodramatic preview. You never know, but be sure to check that out later on. And thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blues.